أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters. I pray that you are in the best of health, inshallah. Allah states in the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Araf, evil is the case of the people who treat our signs as lies, and it was their own selves that they wronged. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmadiyya Islah says about the glory of the Holy Quran in his famous book, Izala-e-Oham. He says, let it be known that the most outstanding miracle of the Holy Quran is the fact that boundless sea of deep wisdom, those solid facts, those avenues of Quranic knowledge, so rich in philosophy, which we can manifestly present to all nations and peoples of every language, be they Indian, Persian, European, or Americans, whichever country they belong to. The Quranic miracle is capable of rendering them defenseless, speechless, and totally disarmed. The meaning of the Holy Quran are unfolding as demand is created according to the changing times, and stand guard like well-armed soldiers against the insinuations and aspirations cast in every age. Had the Holy Quran been limited in extent regarding that which it comprises of solid facts and subtle realities, it could not have been deemed as that perfect miracle. However, you do not have to go too far into the Holy Quran to realize the importance of the divine origin of the revealed text, and that it is not inspired by the human mind, yet explains how we can find Allah through our intentions and actions. Allah states in the Holy Quran in Surah Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 3, this is a perfect book. There is no doubt in it. It is a guidance for the righteous. And who are those righteous people? Those people who believe in the unseen and observe prayer and spend out of what we have provided for them. Surah Baqarah chapter 2 verse 4. And who believe in that which has been revealed to thee, and that which was revealed before thee, and they have firm faith in what is yet to come. That's Surah Baqarah chapter 2 verse 5. So for context, righteousness is the quality of the one who believes in Allah, the last day, the angels, the books, the prophets, and gives wealth, in spite of love for it, to relatives, orphans, the needy, the traveller, those who ask for help, and free slaves. For those who are misguided, Allah leaves them to continue their transgressions, for their final return will be to Him. So He states in Surah Al-Araf, whomsoever Allah judges astray, there can be no guide for him, and He leaves such in their transgressions wandering in distraction. That's Surah Al-Araf again, chapter 7, verse 182. Dear listeners, and I come to the main subject of my speech. The question, does Allah exist? These three words have intrigued minds and hearts from the beginning of time. This discourse explores the profound evidence of Allah's existence, drawing from the Holy Quran, Sunnah, and the rational discourses of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmadiyya Islam, Masih Maud, and Virtue is God, inspired to Hazrat Abdul Ghaffar Jambal Islam, Ghulam Masih Zaman, and Mujaddid of the 15th century AH. We'll delve into the intuitive and intellectual arguments that support belief in Allah and how this belief shapes our lives. I present to you the evidence for the existence of Allah the Almighty. Listeners, I am sure you have contemplated, number one, who is God? Number two, the nature of the Almighty. Number three, what is the purpose of creation? Number four, the purpose of our creation as a species. And number five, why can we not observe God with our physical eyes? I ask you, can we expect to perceive that which is beyond the capacity of our acutely limited senses, let alone seeing the Creator with our physical eyes, a being that is nothing other than the infinite, albeit obvious, our finite senses cannot perceive Him. our senses, vision, hearing, touch, taste, and smell, are acutely limited to our survival needs. Even the animal kingdom demonstrates significantly better senses, and that's why an eagle can see a mouse scuttling on the ground from a mile in the sky. Cats have night vision, albeit nearsighted, in order to hunt prey that's nearby. Cats have one of the broadest ranges of hearing amongst mammals. Their sense of smell is 9 to 16 times as strong as humans. Then how can we, with such limited ability, expect to perceive the divine? However, to perceive the divine, we need to believe in what is defined as the unseen. We cannot see air, radio waves, Wi-Fi, electricity, gravity, time, thoughts, yet we know they exist and cannot possibly survive without them. The existence of radio waves is taught to us in school. We know they exist through the belief that what we are taught is correct, and experiments by Heinrich Rudolf Hertz between 1880 and 1890 proved the existence of electromagnetic waves. But it is still a belief by you and I. No random person can recreate the experiments of the great scientists without belief and commitment. Since the dawn of time, humans have looked up to the heavens, looked down to the earth, the sun, the oceans that provide fish and other provisions, fire that keep them warm, look to the trees that provide fruit, and then other elements in nature that benefited them somehow. According to the Midrash, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam looked at the moon and considered that there was something greater than the moon, i.e. the sun. He looked at the sun and considered there must be something greater than the sun, the one who made the sun. At this point, Allah revealed himself to Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. There is an inherent trait within our hearts to turn to someone or something for sustenance, comfort, safety, or protection. This is why the mother is considered a manifestation of Allah's attributes, as she can possess many divine characteristics. Early man did not have the capacity to develop, or maybe life was too hostile in the dawn of time because of the necessity for survival from predators. In order to survive, humans began to live together and build communities to lighten workload and work together for hunting and protect one another from predators. In order to survive in such communities, there had to be a rudimentary social order to ensure mutual equality and safety. This is what society now considers a social contract that was discussed by many schools of thought in the enlightened era of history. Listeners, a philosopher who once met an illiterate Bedouin asked him, "Do you believe in God?" He said, "Yes, I do." He then asked, "What proof do you have for the existence of God?" He replied within the limits of his understanding. Excrement is a proof for the existence of camels, and tracks of footsteps is a proof of the presence of a traveller. Why then is the sky full of stars and the earth full of pathways not a proof of the existence of God, the incomprehensible, the wise? This is a common argument that has been given for the existence of God since ancient times. Even though many allegations have been made against it, it is still essentially correct, as the Holy Quran also states in Surah Ibrahim, chapter 14, verse 11. Are you in doubt concerning Allah, maker of the heavens and the earth? I wish to propose a scenario to you from Allah the Almighty, the creator of the universe and everything within it. He sets the rules for how the earth is to be used. If humans are tenants and God is the owner and landlord, it is the landlord's right to set rules for limits for the tenants. Allah has the ultimate say when it comes to everything in the universe, because Allah created it. It belongs to him and he knows what's best. Allah created the rules that govern the universe and knows its complexities better than any of our best scientists, be they physicists, biologists, and ecologists. Since Allah establishes the rules for how the universe works, we can seek to learn its features, boundaries, and limits. and follow them for our own and others' benefits. Since Allah is the creator, owner, and ruler of all things, He holds us accountable as His stewards on the earth. While most believers readily understand accountability for not following Allah's directions, those individuals or corporate misdeeds we call sins, we often forget that accountability extends to our treatment of the creations of Allah. An argument that is commonly used against the existence of a divine creator is, if there is a God, then why is there so much evil, rape, pillaging, death and destruction in the world? The easiest answer to this is that Allah granted stewardship of the earth to mankind. All the evil in this world is done at the hands of humans. You do not see this abominable behavior in the animal kingdom. And Allah states, and when thy Lord said to the angels, I am about to place the vicegerent in the earth, they said, wilt thou place therein such as will cause disorder in it, and shed blood? And we glorify thee with thy praise, and extol thy holiness. He answered, I know what you know not. This is Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 31. But then what is the purpose of creation? What is the point of this creation? I wonder if this question ever arose in the minds of an atheist trolley collector in Tesco or Sainsbury's, who at the age of 18 wonders if the sole purpose of his life was to gather trolleys around the car park come rain or shine. The French Enlightenment writer and philosopher François-Marie Arouet, known by his nom de plume as Voltaire, stated, not to be occupied and not to exist are one and the same thing for a man. Google gives us a materialistic answer, informing us the purpose of life is to find joy, contentment, and satisfaction in one's pursuits and relationships, period. However, we know that without a clear sense of direction in life, we may begin to feel that life has no purpose, leading to feelings of hopelessness and despair. This creates a void in our life that we try to fill with tangible material possessions, but the emptiness always returns. This eventually leads to anxiety and depression and so forth. The reality is that we are a higher form of life with a soul. The void is generated by severance from our Creator, Allah the Almighty, and therefore we no longer submit to the divine will, albeit we have free choice. We are no longer fulfilling the purpose of our creation. However, this theme has been answered again and again in the scriptures of the Abrahamic religions and originally in the other scriptures that have been corrupted beyond recognition. However, looking hard enough, you can find logic, as in the Hindu scripture Yajur Veda. It clearly states in chapter 32, verse 3, Na tasya pratima asti, there is no image of him. And chapter 40, verse 9 says, Andatma praveshanti ye asambhuti mupaste. They enter darkness, those who worship natural things, that is, worship of nature, elements, air, water, fire, etc. In Exodus chapter 20, verse 1 to 4, and God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. In the New Testament, John chapter 4, verse 23 to 26, Jesus Christ, Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam, is purported to have stated, Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshippers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in the truth, for they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is Spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the Spirit and in the truth. The woman said, I know that Messiah is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything. Then Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, I am he. In the Holy Quran, Allah the Almighty doesn't mince his words. He states in Surah Taha, chapter 20, verse 15, Verily I am Allah, there is no God beside me, so save me and observe prayer for my resemblance. And I did not create the jinn and mankind except to worship me. That's Surah Zariyat 51-57. Surely it is we who have revealed the book to thee with truth. So worship Allah, being sincere to Him in obedience. That's Surah Zumar, chapter 39, verse 3. Listeners, imagine this scenario for a moment. If I say I have a photo of you, let's say for the purpose of illustration, an elephant-headed man or a monkey with human attributes, and say this is a photo of you, and convinced everyone around me that this was indeed you, in every way possible, I would imagine you would be very, very unhappy or upset to the point of being outraged. God has revealed Himself to us and has sent 124,000 prophets over the history of mankind, sent you all a messenger in your own language. Yet we mock Him with anthropomorphic images of His own creations, such as monkeys, elephants, or native animals, depending on in the spirit and in the truth. For they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and His worshippers must worship in the spirit and in the truth. The woman said, I know that Messiah is coming. When He comes, He will explain everything. Then Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, I am He. In the Holy Quran, Allah the Almighty doesn't mince His words. He states in Surah Taha, chapter 20, verse 15, Verily I am Allah, there is no God beside me, so save me and observe prayer for my resemblance. And I did not create the jinn and mankind except to worship me. That's Surah Zariyat 51-57. Surely it is we who have revealed the book to thee with truth. So worship Allah, being sincere to Him in obedience. That's Surah Zumar, chapter 39, verse 3. Listeners, imagine this scenario for a moment. If I say I have a photo of you, let's say for the purpose of illustration, an elephant-headed man or a monkey with human attributes, and say this is a photo of you, and convinced everyone around me that this was indeed you, in every way possible, I would imagine you would be very, very unhappy or upset to the point of being outraged. God has revealed Himself to us and has sent 124,000 prophets over the history of mankind, sent you all a messenger in your own language. Yet we mock Him with anthropomorphic images of His own creations, such as monkeys, elephants, or native animals, depending on the country of your origin, and depict them as your gods. Do you think it wouldn't enrage the Lord of all the worlds if we mock Him this way? When a creator creates, and the creation malfunctions, does that creator not have the right to eliminate that creation? If humans were to invent something, and albeit perfect in appearance and presentation, it brings harms to the consumers, it is recalled and destroyed, and the inventor goes back to the drawing board. Yet Allah is so merciful and gracious that He allows you the opportunity to discover Him up to the moment of your death. Allah states, until when death comes to one of them, he says, entreating, My Lord, send me back, that I may do righteous deeds in the life that I have left behind. Never it is but a word that he utters, and behind them is a barrier until the day when they shall be raised again. Surah Al-Mu'mineen, chapter 23, verse 100-101. Hazrat Abdul Ghaffar Jambal Islam, the promised Zaki Ghulam Masih Zama, Islam, stated in his epic treatise Virtue's God about the existence of Allah through knowledge and understanding, and quote, if there does exist any knowledge, then no doubt the source of its understanding also exists. He goes on to state that there are three types of human understandings as described in the Holy Quran. Number one, ilm al-yaqeen, knowledge by certainty. For example, if you see smoke from a distance, our mind conceives the presence of fire, as fire and smoke are inseparable. Then by way of inference and certainty, we can state that there is indeed a fire, This reasoning for this existence of the fire is ilmul yaqeen. Number 2, then there's ainul yaqeen. With this, there is no inference but direct knowledge through sight. On approaching the smoke, we see the flames of the fire. Our knowledge increases to the 2nd degree. And third, finally, when we enter into the fire, our knowledge about the existence of fire reaches the 3rd and highest degree of understanding, Haqqul Yaqeen. In this stage, we not only see the fire, but we also experience it. Allah states in Surah Al-Takathur, chapter 102, verse 2 to 9. Mutual rivalry in seeking worldly gain diverts you from Allah, till you reach your graves. Nay, you will soon come to know. Nay again, you will soon come to know. Nay, if you only knew with certain knowledge, you will surely see hell in this very life. Aye, you will surely see it with the eyes of certainty. Then on that day you shall be called to account about the worldly favours. The angels, paradise and hell are all metaphysical creations which cannot be seen in the physical world. In the Quranic verse above, Allah the Almighty says, "How can you with certainty know about spiritual creations?" The answer is that in this world we cannot acquire firm knowledge of spiritual creations directly because we cannot perceive them with our physical eyes. And we can observe them indirectly. For example, when we see smoke, we acquire knowledge by certainty of reason about the existence of fire. Likewise, when we ponder over the universe and over human life and its objectives, we acquire knowledge by certainty of reason regarding those metaphysical creations, paradise, hell, and the angels, etc. In other words, it is not necessary to see those metaphysical creations with our physical eyes. If you understand by way of reason about their existence, the same way we believe in the existence of air, thoughts, Wi-Fi, or radio waves. However, after death, in Barzakh, we will observe spiritual creations with our own eyes, as we see in this physical world, and we will then acquire knowledge by certainty of reason, as well as knowledge by certainty of sight. On the Day of Judgment, we will acquire knowledge by certainty of experience about all the spiritual things. Now, if he of those who have attained nearness to Allah, then for him is a comfort and fragrance of happiness and a garden of bliss. And if he be of those who are on the right hand, then peace be on them, for who is from those on the right hand. But if he be from those who reject the truth and are in error, then for him will be an entertainment of boiling water and burning in hell. Verily, this is a certain truth. So glorify the name of thy Lord the Great. That's Surah Waqiah, chapter 56, verse 89 to 97. Human beings are the best of creations because they have been enriched with a valuable wealth of reason. The face of knowledge is latent and has been concealed under several screens of phenomenon. The purpose of human life is to know and recognize it, yet it's only possible to know and recognize it through concepts or theories. And thus we can state without a doubt that human excellence depends on their power of theorization. In Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verse 52, Allah states that Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam informed the Bani Israel, "Surely Allah is my Lord and your Lord, so worship him, this is the right path." In this verse, Allah has proclaimed that he is the Lord of everything and everyone. The sole purpose of the creation of human beings is to recognize and worship their Creator. The question is, how do we recognize him? It is possible only when we act according to the aspirations of Allah the Almighty. When an individual lives and dies according to the aspirations of his Lord, then the Creator unfolds himself to him. Such a fortunate individual then observes the face of his Lord. It has been inferred that as every sort of action has its object, Likewise, virtuous action also has its object, and it is being virtue is God the Almighty. As Allah reveals in Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verse 93, never shall you attain to righteousness, i.e. virtue, unless you spend out of that which you love, i.e. virtuous action. And whatever you spend, Allah surely knows it well. In this verse, Allah the Almighty has revealed every letter and word fittingly and meaningfully. We see that in the former part of the verse, Allah the Almighty has proclaimed that you cannot attain righteousness, i.e. virtue, but immediately after that, He has informed us how it can be achieved, that you attain, the attainment of virtue is akin to your virtuous action. And Allah is the best and the most abiding in Surah Taha, chapter 20, verse 74. In this verse, Allah the Almighty states that He is the best. Here, virtue and the best are one and the same thing. After this, we move forward towards the definition of virtue. It has been stated that virtue, which is the sole object of our lives, is the supreme, ultimate, universal truth. Without a doubt, the most outstanding and complete knowledge of the existence of God the Exalted has been cited in the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran is a treasure trove of divine knowledge, filled with every possible aspect of truth, and in it is a miracle the likes of which never was and never will be. The epoch of its blessings and bounties is everlasting. And Allah states in Surah Al-Qasas, chapter 28, verse 89, and call not on any other God besides Allah. There is no God but He. Everything will perish except Himself. His is the judgment, and to Him will you be brought back. Everything on earth and heaven recognizes and proclaims the holiness of Allah the Almighty. They all prostrate at the threshold of Allah the Almighty in extreme humility and are occupied with His obedience. In this context, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad al-Islam states in Kashti-e-Nur Ruhani Khazai, volume 19, page 32 to 33. Every particle of heaven and earth glorifies the holiness of Allah. Everything in them is engaged in His glorification and praise. The mountains remember Him, the rivers remember Him, the trees remember Him, and many righteous ones are occupied with His remembrance. Whoever fails to remember Him in his heart and by his tongue and does not humble himself before Allah is compelled to humble himself by being put through diverse types of torment by divine decree. Whatever is recorded of the angels in the book of Allah, that they are completely obedient to Him, the same is said of every leaf and every particle in the earth. Everything is obedient to Him. Not a leaf can fall without His command. No medicine can heal without His command. Nor can any food provide agreeable sustenance without it. Everything prostrates itself at the threshold of Allah in extreme humility and worshipfulness, and is occupied with His obedience. Every particle of the earth and mountain, every drop of the rivers and ocean, every leaf of trees and plants, and all particles of men and beasts recognize Allah, obey Him, and are occupied with His glorification and praise. That is why Allah the Almighty has stated, whatever is in the heaven and whatever is in the earth glorifies Allah, the Sovereign, the Holy, the Mighty, the Wise. Surah Al-Hadid, chapter 57, verse 2. Allah the Almighty is infinitely near us because of His omnipresence. He, being very near, is also far away from us. Due to His nearness, where we are and what we do is open for Him. He is subtle. He is a subtle entity, and because of His subtlety, He is latent for us. He says, and He is with you wheresoever you may be, and Allah sees all that you do. Surah Al-Hadid, chapter 57, verse 5. And He knows full well all that is in your breasts. That's Surah Al-Hadid, chapter 57, verse 7. Dear brothers and sisters, we can go on and on discussing these matters up to the moment of our deaths. Allah the Almighty states, until when death comes to one of them, he says, entreating, my Lord, send me back, that I may do righteous deeds in the life that I have left behind. Never it is but a word that he utters, and behind them is a barrier until the day when they shall be raised again. So we cannot say that it has not been revealed to us. In this area of social media and mass communication, the word of Allah has become available to every corner of the world. The West and its machinery set the seed for capitalism, so-called freedom, alcohol consumption, hedonism, debauchery, atheism, LGBTQAA++ to the inhabitants of the Western society, i.e., they have stated that you have your freedom to do whatever you please, as long as it is within the confines of their definition of freedom. But by the grace of Allah the Almighty, this has led to up to 600-700 people accepting Islam in the Western world. So the world is waking up to the religion of Islam. Let's pray that it doesn't leave us behind. Jazakallah.